if you can make it a transformative experience and go higher in your career, the same people will be actually lauding your decision that, yeah, you decided to do an MBA and actually that has benefited your career a lot. So, hey guys, today we have with us Mr. Varun Gupta, who is a senior software engineer at JP Morgan Chase, Singapore. But more importantly, he is also a part-time MBA candidate at NUS Business School. And today he is here with us to share his experience about doing a part-time MBA. And he will also tell you what is required for getting an admission and how you should decide whether you should do a part-time MBA or a full-time MBA. So, hey Varun, welcome to the channel.
Hey, thanks, Amit, for inviting me to this call.
Hey, it's our pleasure, Varun. And before starting, I would like to ask about yourself. Like, what is your background, your academics, and your career background?
About myself, I am currently working at JP Morgan, as you said. My background, I've been a senior developer. I've been a software developer for about 7 years now, mostly in the fintech space. Prior to JP Morgan, I worked with Traveloka, which is a travel startup, for about 2.5 years in Singapore. Before this, I was working in India with two other companies, both in fintech. One is Paytm, the other is an asset management company out of UK. And my education background is I've done bachelor's in computer science. So mostly you can say I've been a techie. My motivation for MBA was to step out of the technology background and explore something on the business side. Yeah.
So, yeah, to get out of your technology background and explore the business side is one thing, but also you had a very nice job. You still have. You are a senior developer at JP Morgan, which is a feat that many people aim to achieve. But then also you decided to pursue a part-time MBA, which is also a time investment and a money investment. So how did you come to this decision?
All right, that's a good question. And I get that a lot from peers, friends, and family and relatives. And my personal thought is where you are in your life doesn't matter. Where you want to go is how you can proceed on your next steps. So for me, when I thought what I want to do next was an MBA, where I wanted to do was what my current position was, what my current environment was, and it all started a long way back. I was in my first company. I'll share a short story here. I was with my first company in an asset management company. My first interview, never worked in my life, and the manager asked me in the interview, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" And I say like, "I want to lead a tech company after 5 years," and that won't happen just yet. He said it will take some time, so better maybe you gain some experience and then you start working in the industry. So what I did was I worked for a while. My initial goal was to do an MBA after 5 years in India, like go for a executive MBA. A lot of people give CAT entrance exam and then they go for executive MBA with other institutes, other good institutes in India. Since now my positioning was such that I had worked with Traveloka in Singapore for 2.5 years, coming out of India, I thought why not just pursue that same goal. And I've been in the tech space. Now it's a chance for me to go to the business side. Um, I think for tech people, it's mostly a VP role or a engineering lead role in the industry, but it's not very simple with the tech as well. So you have to have business side function knowledge, whether it's finance, whether it's marketing, whether it's uh, strategy. Without these concepts, you can't get ahead in life. That's what my personal aim was. And they say like knowledge is the best investment you can make. So if we talk about money, or like if we talk about monetary terms of doing an MBA, I understand it's a substantial factor, but the best investment you can make is on yourself, on your education. And later it's up to me whether I can join a tech company, start a tech company, lead a tech company. So at least I have the education background to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's phenomenal actually, and I like the thinking style of leading your life where you want to be, and you wanted to do an MBA, and that's why you decided to pursue NUS MBA. but it's not that easy because it is a top college and top colleges come with top requirements. So what were the requirements for getting an admission in NUS, and how did you fulfill them?
Sure. The requirements for an MBA typically generally starts with a entrance exam like a CAT, or if you are applying for an MBA globally, you would go for a GMAT, or nowadays there's an exam form called executive assessment. Uh, so that depends on where you are at your point of application in your career. For me, I was 7 years in the industry, and generally for a entrance exam to be considered for the application, it's best if you give the GMAT around 2 to 6 years of experience, and later on, if you are planning an MBA, you can go for an executive assessment. I did my executive assessment during my time of application and found it like the best fit because I just crossed 7 years. And after 7 years, you can go for an executive assessment. It's more leaner in terms of the exam format, similar to the GMAT that you give generally. Doesn't have an essay portion, so you can prepare while you're working. Then there are other aspects of your MBA application, which I would say it's not entirely the GMAT score that counts for your selection. But if you're coming from a very densely populated country like India, where there are a lot of good applicants, where there are a lot of bright minds, I would say try to get a good score. Um, it helps, but it's not the only criteria. So don't worry if you don't get a good score. Try to see whether you can differentiate your application on other terms, which I'll mention now. The other is you can focus on leadership aspects during your career. For leadership examples in your life, you can quote about your volunteering experience, you can quote about your NGO experience, you can quote about your sports experience, any initiative that you've taken in life, led by yourself, led to a completion. Mention that. I think later, at least it will justify your potential as a in MBA applicant. And what they look for is what are the things that you've done in the past that bring out or stand you out as a MBA applicant. And the other is how your references are. So make sure your application references are good. When you get your application in, try to relate the experiences from your standpoint, what you have done in your career, what you have done in your project, how you stood out, how you took initiatives when you were on a project in your company. So have that as a instance from your previous experiences. That really counts, and coming from a person who's already a leader would also help. So someone who's already worked as a manager or a lead, even VP. So it doesn't matter. It can be any level, but someone who's already an established leader with a number of experience can also count towards your application here. So lastly, make sure that you get your application proofread by someone who's already filed one. Why is it that important? Because when you are writing it, you might have a different perspective, but when you get it read by someone, that person can get a summary view of your application and can better understand how your application would make sense. There's also this thing that's called your post MBA goal. How clearly you can justify your post MBA goal with what you have done or what you aspire to. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very wholesome and very nicely articulated, Varun. Now moving to our next question. So you chose NUS MBA, but there must be some rationale behind that, and you must have also applied for a few other universities. So how did you decide to do NUS MBA, and where else did you apply?
Sure. I actually only applied to NUS for my MBA, and the criteria for me at that time was If I want to go for an MBA, either I'll choose an INSEAD or either I'll go for NUS. One, because an INSEAD is one of the best schools ranked globally. It's a very intensive program, and for INSEAD, if you're going for an MBA, you have to consider whether you're applying for, you will be in for a full-time program, which is about 10 months. I didn't have that luxury of time in my stage, and which is why I went for NUS MBA, which was second best option considered for an MBA in terms of ranking, if I'm speaking, and plus ability to cut in at the right time for the application as well. So I was meeting the criteria for my experience, my executive assessment, plus the option to go for a part-time MBA along with working in my current role.
That's great. So your criteria were that you did not want to leave your job. You also wanted a good MBA experience, and that is why you chose to do an MBA in Singapore and applied for NUS MBA, which is a very fair criteria, by the way. So moving on, how was the admission process? Like, what were the so you have told what they look for, but I'm asking about like what is the procedure? You apply, then are there interviews, and like how long is the time period? All these things, can you just elaborate a bit?
Sure. When I started my application, I think the application process was fairly straightforward. Everything is available on the website. So you can just go on the website, find all the details around how you need to download the form, apply for the application on the website. You can do it online or you can do it offline. If you go on the online, you can start an application. There's a set of 5 essay questions. You start with filling them up. While you fill your essay questions, you will also start to realize why you're doing this, and it'll start to make more sense by the time you finish your essays. Keep it short and precise. Don't miss out information, but also don't overact things. And secondly is your documents that you prepare in advance. Have your GMAT score ready, have your EA score ready, have your education and work experience documents ready with you. So by the time you are done with your essays, just upload and make a payment. And I think it's as simple as that. Once you fill in your application, it takes about 2 weeks to go for 2 weeks waiting time for getting shortlisted, 2 to 4 weeks. In my case, it was between 2 to 3 weeks. After your waiting process, once you're shortlisted, then there'll be a online Zoom interview, and just choose a date, choose a time where you can best give these interviews. After your online interview, it will take another 2 weeks where you can just wait for your final outcome. In your final outcome, you will be notified via email whether you got the offer or whether your application was rejected. When my offer came, I was pretty happy. And after your offer comes, you have 10 days to make a admission fee payment, which reserves your seat or which reserves your entry to the program. It's also said that fees is not your fulfillment criteria for getting to the program. They will do some background verifications along the way. So once you submit your offer, you also have to pass in documents that verify your credentials as well. Oh, by the way, in terms of credentials, make sure you also have your transcripts ready.
That's great. So you got the admission, but did you also get some scholarship or anything, or did you apply for that?
Yeah. So scholarship is a huge factor, or for some people, especially for those people who are coming from modest grounds and who want to cover their MBA application at a lower cost. Because the education in Singapore is quite high if you go for the good institutes. And mostly people who are not working, if they are coming for a full-time program, there will be other expenses as well. For scholarship, you can file an essay. The NUS MBA itself has a section for your scholarship essay. If you fill that correctly, and if there are enough scholarships available, you will get a chance to get one of those. For part-time program, I think a bit difficult to get one of the scholarships because there are a lot of people, and if you're already working, it's hard to justify how you should be qualifying for a scholarship compared to people who are in need from the full-time ones. Having said that, there might be some people from different backgrounds, programs that should be considered. So there are people who are applying from different programs, different fields, different backgrounds, such as people of different diversity. So there are such scholarships available, but for part-time there's less. But don't get disheartened. Try to apply for it. If not in US, at least INSEAD has a lot of scholarships available. And once you get your foot in the door, I think there are a lot of opportunities to get that ROI. I think we all uh, think about the ROI even before going for a education program, right? So don't worry about that. It's an investment you make in yourself. It will double down in a few years. You won't see it yet, but in some years you will see that happening for you. So don't worry about the monetary aspects. But yeah, if for your current situation, try to at least get in the scholarship essay question, and you can also submit any document that can help you more on your scholarship criteria. Yeah.
Okay, okay, noted. So now the application is ready, and you also got the admission, and you are inside NUS MBA and pursuing the program already. So now tell us, how is the experience of pursuing a part-time MBA at NUS while doing your job, and how different it is from a full-time experience?
This is a very typical question that gets asked: why you go for a full-time versus why you should go for a part-time, right? um, I've seen a lot of people who want a immersive experience when going for education as demanding as an MBA, because it's a chance where you meet a lot of people. It's a chance where you engage with your professors, engage with the community, engage with different people from different backgrounds, cohorts. They will give you good insights. They will share their previous experiences. They'll tell you after you've done your MBA what is the right fit, how they did it. For me, after I got in, it'll be very transformative. It'll be very, uh, I'll say, like eye-opening. Why is that? Because when you start your semester, there will be immediately a lot of things coming onto you. It's a fast-paced program, which is why you need to have your GMAT score covered, need to have your EA covered. And when you're in the program, you'll see why it's important. It's important because when you're given an education that is summarized in a short 3-hour lecture, are you able to uh, comprehend it very fast? Are you able to analyze it? Are you able to ask questions? Are you able to contribute in the class? And that's where you can learn more about the subject itself. For part-time, I'll say, is how you pace your education is how you can get it done. There's a flexibility to choose your modules. There's a flexibility to uh, combine different electives, combine different subjects, see which one you want to take in which quarters or semesters. And if you think that there is too much pressure on your work's life, so try to cut down on like those modules, on those credits which you can finish up when you have more time available after your work. So for me, I focused on the heavy subjects in the start of the semester. Then during the mid year, I foresee that the work will be high, so I try to cut down on my subjects, my modules. Towards the end of the year, it's a light period where everyone has more time available. So for me, I'm also trying to pace my module such that I can make more time towards my studies and balance my work. Plus, it's also important how you communicate with your employer, and how you maintain a transparency between work and studies. It's important that you don't focus just only on one aspect, not just on your studies, but maintain a good balance between your work and studies. And there'll be chances where you have to prioritize and deprioritize things. So uh, you have to take your judgment call on those things. But yeah, part-time will give you that flexibility to do that. In terms of uh, the demand of hours, I will say it takes about uh, 14 to 15 hours a week. But after work, if you don't have a family, I think you can manage very well. If you have a family, it's just about how you can find time between uh, between your partner and you pacing in the job and the study, and how supportive is your family, how's your environment, that also matters. So try to make sure you don't have any major family events, you don't have any major things planned. um, it will be a transformative journey, I can say that. For a start, it'll be a bumpy ride, but there'll be a lot of learnings, there'll be a lot of case studies, there'll be a lot of group discussions, presentation, public speaking. Yeah.
Okay, so what all you talked about till now is about the reality of the program, that how you are experiencing it and how you're coping up with it. But there is also something called perception of the program, because you are pursuing a part-time program. And how are the career growth prospects if somebody does a part-time MBA program, and like how people perceive that?
Career prospects of a part-time program, people are already working, Amit. So which means if you're already coming from a background where you've worked in the industry, and you just need to see what education you have got, and what's your next ambition, and how you can, after your MBA, move into that direction. So let's say for me, if I'm a person who's coming from tech background, I mentioned that maybe I want to go into a product management role. So after my MBA, I am participating in those case studies with those companies where it's more product aligned, where it's more of building a product. Am I talking to people in those industries which who have built like the interesting products in their journey? So that all depends. So while you're doing your MBA, don't just focus on the academics, focus on building connections, uh, and try to create your own path. There is not a set path for everyone. So let's say if I want to move on to product management, try to create your own path, try to talk to these people who are already there, and speak with your employer, see if there's a product management role at your company where you can, after your MBA, switch from your current role to the product management in your company itself while staying at the company, right? That also adds a value to your employer if there's a question of why should you be moving, right? uh, you get an MBA education which you can utilize for the company benefit itself. So your employer would be happy to do that. And if not, explore opportunities outside your domain as well, and try to do some freelancing work, try to do some some projects with companies, like product design, or so that's from a product management perspective. But yeah, you can also try to change careers. uh, if for a part-time program, I think changing a career is a bit difficult, but it's not impossible. um, I was also thinking myself to switch to a investment banking role while working with an investment bank. Still unexplored, still undecided. So there's no pressure, I would say. Just take it one step at a time. Focus on uh, what makes sense for you along the way, and try to get more clarity on different career paths as much as possible, and maintain your focus. So if there are a lot of different paths when you do an MBA, like consulting, finance, marketing, strategy, healthcare, real estate, which I didn't know about before starting an MBA, right? Now I've fine-grained it to 2 to 3 options, which I think would work best for me after I do my MBA. And such fine lining of these career paths would help me better clarity, better focus on meeting those people in the industry. And once I come out and once I complete the program, I would have already known that this is the right path for me, because I've seen all the other choices. I've talked to different people, and you never know, you might end up getting a chance of an internship with the person you've spoken during seminar at your MBA college. So keep your eyes open, keep your heart open, and don't be an introvert. Try to speak out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And also, I think as you talked about the specializations, like there are, I think, 9 specializations in NUS, and it's a good way of actually giving a shape to your career. That if
Mhm.
you are more interested in finance, then take finance electives and get specialized in that, so that that can boost your career in that direction. So yeah, that's a good advice actually. Mm, so now we have come to the end of our discussion, but before leaving, we would like you to say a few things for the people who are aspiring to do MBA, whether from NUS or from any part of the world. Like, what is your one, if you want to give one advice to them, what would be that?
One advice I would, if I want to share to everyone who's applying for an NUS, who's applying for an MBA at any college, don't get disheartened. I understand it's a difficult time. There's a perception of MBAs previously in the past where they are considered like people with PowerPoint presentation skills and good speaking skills can present themselves visually. It's not just that, there are a lot of other things. You need to be able to make critical decisions. You need to be able to make fair judgment, fair choices, and also maintain your calm while you're taking decisions. Um, Later in your career, you will eventually reach a path where a lot of people will be looking onto you. So use that opportunity to develop yourself as a leader and not just calling yourself as an MBA. Make sure that when you come out of your program, it has changed you in a very good way. Where when you look back on your past, you might be thankful that you did an MBA, or you made a good choice on as to why you did it.
That's really phenomenal advice, and I haven't heard that, because this is a very basic question. Many people think that if they do MBA, they feel like what they are doing is making PowerPoint presentations and just doing public speaking, and that's how they are also judged among their peer group. But if you can make it a transformative experience and go higher in your career, the same people will be actually lauding your decision that yeah, you decided to do an MBA, and actually this that has benefited your career a lot. So it's all on you whether how you take it. So that's a very good advice actually. So Varun, thanks a lot for giving your valuable time to us. I know that you have classes on the weekends, and then you have to work tomorrow, and it's always a tough job to do to balance your studies and your work. But you are doing it quite well. So thanks a lot for giving your time. And guys, if you have any questions, drop them in your comment section, and I and Varun will be very happy to respond to them. Also, please keep coming back to our channel for weekly content on career and mentorship. And until next time, we'll sign off.